Hello everyone, welcome back to Everything Swift. Today's video is going to be much different from my typical video that I put out, which is those lead code video solution. Today is going to be something related to iOS development, and today we'll be looking at how to use and leverage MKMapSnapshotter in our app. I'll explain further later on in this video what is MKMapSnapshotter and how to use them. But basically, this is the first iOS development video related for this channel, and I'll be attempting to put out more of this kind of content in this channel. So don't worry, this is still everything Swift. I'll be still covering those lead code video solution, but I just thought of like covering some iOS development as well. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments if there's some stuff that you guys want to check out regarding iOS development. So yeah, before I explain what MKMapSnapshotter is, I'll probably just explain the project structure here that I've already coded out for time efficiency purposes. I don't think you guys want to see all this kind of code. I think that would just save up some time. So basically this project here is not a storyboard. I'll be doing everything programmatically. So basically I removed the storyboard setup. And this SceneDelegate here is basically just configuring the UI window, and we're setting up the navigation controller that sets the root view controller to the only view controller in this project. So yeah, I'm just keeping it as simple as possible. So nothing much going on here, just setting up the UI window and the nav controller as the root view controller for the UI window. That's about it. There's nothing much going on here as well. So yeah, that's the only thing in the SceneDelegate. Let's move on to the view controller. So this is the only view controller in this project. I try to keep it as simple as possible and to demonstrate how we're going to use the MKMapSnapshotter later on. So, well, the view controller is a subclass of UI view controller, and the only subviews it has is the snapshot image, which is of type UI image here. And basically we set the constraint up in this method called setup views. As we can see in this function here, we basically just set up the title, view background, and just the constraint for the UI image we'll use later on. We have another method called display map snapshot, which is called inside this view did appear here, and that is the crux of this video. We're going to be using MKMapSnapshotter inside this function to populate the results inside this snapshot image later on in this function. So this is the most important thing, and that is the to-do for this video. That's about it for the view controller, pretty simple as well. But we can see here there's these annotations here of type location annotation. So let's check that out. So location annotation, you can think about it, it is sort of like a model kind of thing, that subclass MK annotation that just holds a constant of CL location coordinate 2D. So basically we need this, or at least I created this class that we're going to be using to populate on the maps as either a pin or a marker depending on which iOS version you are. But basically, don't be baffled by it. What is location annotation is basically just a custom class that has a coordinate of type CL location 2D. That subclass MK annotation, and we are going to use it inside the map view to display those markers or pins on the map view. So basically that's it. That is the only files that are important for this project. Pretty simple, I guess. Not too much complexity here. So yeah, let's get to work. Let's see how we're going to use this MKMapSnapshotter, right? So first of all, like what is MKMapSnapshotter, right? So I think like we have come across apps that have used map views, within the app, like Uber, Grab is as well. Grab in Southeast Asia has a map view as well. So I think there are many apps today that uses map view. I think Instagram has them as well. So yeah, MapView is pretty much very popular among apps that we have on our device today. But I thought it would be interesting to know that there is an alternative if we don't need the full functionality of MapView. I think that's where the beauty of MKMapSnapshotter comes in. Essentially, yeah, I mean, you guys can check out the documentation, so I won't give the official uh, explanation of what it is. But basically, if I want to summarize it, it's basically just giving out a visual, a summarized kind of visual of a map view and translate it into a UI image, which is why I set up the snapshot image here of type UI image view, because the operation of MKMapSnapshotter will return us an image of the map view, and we are going to use that result image when we're going to populate it inside this snapshot image here, right? And you'll be asking like, okay, so it gives us a visual representation of a map view, right? So why not just use a map view, right? So the benefit, I think, or the most important benefit, I would say, is that MKMapSnapshotter basically helps us reduce. I think it's more memory performance basically, uh, as compared to MapView. So they are very much different because the result of MKMapSnapshotter returns a UI image uh, that gives just like the snapshot essentially of the map view, right? It's not really a map view, right? So basically, if you have scenarios where you don't need the full functionality of a map view, and we all know that map view is very memory intensive, right? So every time we load a map view, we can see the memory shoots up in our memory debugger, right? So this is just one alternative where it's like, okay, so I want a visual representation of map view, but I don't need the user to navigate around the map or play around the map or just any kind of like specific interaction of a map view, right? So this is just one alternative that I thought like it'll be good that we can just use this kind of snapshot version and give those visual aspect to the user, at the same time save achieve memory efficiency as well, right? So I just thought like it's quite cool. It's actually introduced in iOS 7, but I don't think many apps are using it. But yeah, just an alternative if you guys ever encountered a scenario where I don't need the full functionality of a map view. I just need the display of a map view, and from there on, I can just show to the user, right? So that's just like one consideration of like when you can use a MK map snapshotter, right? So I guess enough talk, like let's see how we're going to use it and display those snapshot view, because I think so far we have never compiled the code or write any code yet. So let's jump to the juicy part. So to set up MKMapSnapshotter, we're going to set up the options. So basically the options is the configuration required for MKMapSnapshotter. And these options gives us a chance to set like the scale of the map view snapshot, the size of it, the map type, and etc. So basically all those kind of configuration required for the resulted image, the end result of the image. So let's go and set that up here. So let me just comment here the option. So let option mk map snapshotter dot option. So I'm just setting up the region here. Pretty much the same thing as a map view. You can set up the coordinate region for your map as well. So let me just set that up. Center, location 2D. I'll just set up as the same one as the location annotation. Just setting up the region so that it doesn't show us too wide of a map view. This is sort of like a zoom in version. So just gonna use that here. Setting up the region. Next thing I want to set up is also the size of it, right? So how big is the snapshot image that's going to be returned? So the first thing we're going to do is, sorry, I didn't let me set this up and just the span. Yeah, that's why the compiler was complaining. Alright, so for the size of it, I'm just going to do snapshot image bounds dot size, right? So it's going to be the size of the snapshot image essentially. Let's go ahead and set up the scale as well. UI screen dot scale, just to give it quite sharp kind of image or quality of image. And yeah, just to show you guys can also set the map type here. Yeah, you guys got all these options available. I'm just going to keep it to standard, and basically that's it. That's the only thing I want to configure from the option standpoint that we're going to use to configure the MKMapSnapshotter, right? So let me set up the snapshot here. MKMapSnapshotter options option, right? So that's where we pass in the configuration to the MKMapSnapshotter. So snapshot.start, just do this. So you can see here in the completion block here, we have a snapshot optional and an error, right? So I'm just going to call it snapshot here and error, right? Since it's a completion block here, just want to be quite careful not to have retain cycle, so the weak self there, I like to guard it and just return here. Right. I know some people don't really do this, they keep it with the optional, but I think it's quite neat if you're going to keep referring to the self with the question mark. I'd rather just have a cleaner version of it. So the next thing is, as we can see, this operation, this start operation here, can generate an error, so we want to make sure that there's no error before we generate the image and populate it inside snapshot image, right? So we can check if error equals nil, let snapshot, and snapshot is also an optional, right? So let's go and unwrap that safely. No, right? So alright, so two guard statement. You guys can combine it as well, but I just, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's neater. So okay, so we know that snapshot image has an image property here, right? But if we check out the documentation, this basically just provides the image of the map's content. However, it does not provide those snapshot of the annotation of the map view. So if we just return this image here, it will just be an image of a map view. But what we want to do today is actually to display the annotation on the map as well, into the snapshot image as well. But if we just return this, we do not get the annotation on the end snapshot result here. So we need to actually draw that into the snapshot image. So we're going to draw the location annotation here onto the snapshot image here, and then we're going to return that to populate it inside our snapshot image view. So let's see how we're going to do that. So as always, for drawing stuff or begin image context, so with option snapshot image.size and opaque is true, snapshot image scale. Scale, right? So this is just starting it. So we're gonna draw it onto the snapshot, right? Snapshot image draw at CG point 0. Now this is where we're gonna take the annotation to be drawn based on the coordinates to be drawn onto the snapshot version of the image, right? So annotation in self.annotation. Right, so we're just looping here. There's only one element here just for demonstration purposes, but yeah, if you guys have more of it, we are basically just doing a for loop and just keep drawing the annotation onto the snapshot image. So let's see here, point snapshot dot point. So as you can see here, snapshot.point is expecting a CL location coordinate 2D, which our annotation here of type location annotation has that, right? So we're just going to set that up, annotation dot coordinate, right? So now we have that point, but we want to display it on the map, right? So this is where we have to use the MK marker or MK pin to set up those annotation that we usually see on the map view. So we have to draw that as well, right? So we already have the point. Now we have to set up the view of it onto the snapshot. So I'm just going to call it annotation view, and I'm going to use MK marker annotation view. Annotation here, which is this annotation, because location annotation is basically a subclass of MK annotation. So I'm just going to pass this in, and we use the identifier, which is going to call it, we use ID. So annotation here, right? So now that we got the annotation view, we can draw it, right? Draw hierarchy, right? We're going to draw it inside the rect, and get the rect here, which is okay. So x here, basically just get the point of the snapshot, which is point x, point y, and basically annotation view dot bounds dot size dot height, and oh sorry, dot width. Annotation view dot bounds dot size dot height. Right, just set this to true. Alright, so that is it. Let me just tidy up the code here real quick. Okay, right. So we draw the hierarchy for the annotation view. So basically, once this is being drawn and we exit out from the for loop, so we have take the coordinates of the location coordinator, transform it into the marker annotation view. This is basically the view that we usually see on the map, the pins and stuff. So we're translating into that view. So once this is done and we draw in the hierarchy, now it's basically to get the end result, right? The final result that we want to display on inside this snapshot image view, right? So to do that, we're going to end the UI graphics operation here. So let me just get drawn image here, UI graphics, get image from current image context, right? So once this is done, we can just call snapshot image.image. So this is the image view, and basically just passing the drawn image, right? So that's basically it. That is the only thing that we have to do to generate a view like map view that is not a map view. It just looks like a map view, but it's not. So yeah, let me just compile this app finally for the first time. Hopefully everything works, and you guys can see what I mean by using MKMapSnapshotter. Hopefully it works. And there we have it, right? So as you can see here, we do get the map view here, but actually it's not a map view. As we can tell here, as you can see the code, this is actually an image, right? But MKSnapshotter is basically just returning us a snapshot of the image. We set the region of it to this coordinate, hence what we are seeing here in the map. It's not really interactable because this is a UI image view, not a map view. So yeah, this is the MK marker annotation view that we see, that we've drawn here in this code here that we can see here. So yeah, that's basically how we're going to use MKMapSnapshotter. So it gives you the look of the map view, but it's not really a map view. So if your user doesn't need to interact with the map view, the memory optimization, one aspect of it is you guys can consider using this just for display purposes, right? So there's a few things that we can improve here, right? So we can see that the MK marker annotation view is cut off, right? So that's pretty ugly. Let's go and fix that. So MK marker annotation view basically is just a view. So we can set those kind of content mode or bounds to it, right? So that should fix the problem because here we are not setting any of that. I'm just going to set the content mode to scale aspect fit. Uh, just set the bounds here to CG x 0 and probably just put 40 and see how it is. Let's go and compile this again. Okay, so we have this here. As you can see here, this is fixed. Previously was cut off. So the fix is basically these two lines of code that we set. We set the content mode and the bounds, and then it's basically drawn nicely here, right? So in case you guys are wondering like where I get these coordinates from, I just Google for New York, I guess, and this is basically the coordinate. Yeah, pretty random, but yeah, that's that's it. So yeah, what kind of further optimization that we can do, right? So one of it is basically, as you can see here in snapshot start here, there's actually another option that we can pass to decide what kind of queues that we want to run in. So this is basically running all on the main thread, right? So if you really want to optimize, we can kick it off to a different queue, maybe like a background queue or any custom queue, right? So as you can see here, if you click start, there's this width here. We are currently using the completion handler. We can use the second one, as you can see, is type dispatch queue and completion handler, right? So let's try and do that. I'm just going to pass in global here to kick it off to the background. And basically, this is essentially the same code that we have already written. So I'm just going to copy all these things, put it here. Don't forget to set the weak cell here, delete this part here. So now this whole operation, this start operation for MKMapSnapshotter to generate that snapshot map view will be happening in the background, right? But for us to, we have to remember to set this back on to the main thread, right? Because we are doing all this UI uh, operation, so we need to kick it back to the main thread. So let's remember to do that here. See, so this is just us coming back to the main thread, right? So yeah, that's one optimization that you guys can think about as well, kicking off to a different queue. Uh, but yeah, just don't forget to come back to the main thread. So let's run this and see if everything is okay. Hopefully that works. Alright, so it's still working, it's still an image, we still have the perfectly drawn marker annotation here. So yeah, but the optimization that we did is kicking off to the background thread and coming back to the foreground to continue the UI drawing, right? So what other optimization that we can do, right? One of it is basically we know the end result is basically a UI image. So we can actually use caching, right? So that we can avoid having to perform this operation over and over again. So let's use this project as an example because I set this function in view did appear. So basically imagine if this view controller here navigates or segue to a second view controller, right? And if it comes back, this function will be called again, and this whole operation within this whole function will take place again, right? So how one way we can optimize it is basically just putting this resulted image into a cache to avoid having to run this whole operation again, right? So maybe you can just do it here. Cache, cache. For example, you guys can use whatever cache that you guys prefer as well. I'm just showing this as an example here. So the cache is here, and what we can do here is basically just setting self.cache set object for key, right? So we're just gonna pass this drawn image, the final image that we have drawn, to the cache, and we're just gonna set it to cache, for example. Uh, just an example, guys. You guys can pick a better name or make this into a constant or something like that. Yeah, so this is an optional. It's not good. We're going to do drawn image here, and just pass to make sure it's not an optional, right? So yeah, so now this when the first time this view controller is loaded and if it's not already in the cache, we will set it in the cache here. And to avoid this whole operation from running, we can basically just put if let cached image cache object for key, and then just call it cache, just to make sure I don't have any typo. I did have a typo, so okay. So here we can just set I don't need self snapshot image, sorry, the image equals to cache image, and then I can just exit out from this function here, right? So basically this whole operation will not run. If you guys don't want to do this kind of return format, you can just put an else block here, probably clearer. So just move this into an else block, and voila, right? So let me just compile this to show you guys that it still works. Alright, it's taking a while here. Hopefully it runs. Does it run? There we go. Yeah, it's just my computer being very slow, but you can see it's drawn here. So obviously we don't get to see the functionality of the cache here, but just hypothetical situation, if you segue into a different view controller, for example, and you come back, because we set this up in view did appear, and I just want to avoid this whole operation from running, you will just hit here and just check for the cache. If it does, you will return it and just set to the image view, and that's about it, right? That's just one way to show you guys like what kind of optimization that we can do using MKMapSnapshotter. Obviously, there's some trade-off as well. If, for example, we expect this region to change, for example, maybe the cache wouldn't be the best solution because the cache will be stale. But just giving you guys example, right? So to optimization, remember kick it off to a different queue, and then just return it in the main thread and potential caching mechanism that you guys can consider, right? So yeah, so essentially that's all I want to cover today. This is my first time doing iOS development tutorial, so hopefully you guys find it interesting and useful. I just thought like it's not really super covered by many people as compared to other iOS tutorials like how to build an app, table views and stuff like that. So I just thought of covering specific iOS related APIs or UI kits, anything like just very specific. So hopefully you guys find this interesting. If you guys do, feel free to comment below, and I'll see you guys in the upcoming videos. So thank you so much for your time. Take care, and bye bye.